to officially do a kickoff, or if you want me to
Uh,
jump into it, let me know.
yeah, I just say, hey, welcome. This is IOTA Community Governance Call. As always, we're recording. JD has done some amazing stuff over the weekend, prepared some sheets and formulas, and I don't know what all kind of cool stuff. So maybe you just really give us a short run through, um, and I'm sure this will bring us a lot of good talking points that we can work on and clarify then. Yep.
Sure. Okay, let's see. I'll try to share my screen here and see if I can do this properly. All right. So, do you see a Shimmer governance page?
Yes.
Yep.
Cool.
Works.
So this is a Notion, which is basically pretty much an everything, which is pretty interesting. It has sort of interactive spreadsheets as well as you can sort of build pseudo web pages, which is what I'm just kind of working on of a central location that might have, the discourse proposal link that will be able to pull up a link straight to discourse, or it has the Hacker MD that Philo put up. But primarily, I think, and it also has this web form. Now, this web form is basically, I'm looking at it as how can we efficiently set up a process system where people will be able to apply for grants. And I think us as a team, it might be good to know, well, what kind of information do we want to know from the individuals that are seeking grants? And I
Can I
think through our research and other,
can I
go
stop
ahead.
you, JD? Can I have a question of it? Does anybody of you also
Yeah.
have a really low image
Yeah,
quality?
Really?
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Can
low.
you maybe put it to this? There's an option for better text readability.
Okay, let me
Which
try. Let me stop
basically
streaming. I'll
you only can identify the headlines, but the rest of the text was completely blurred out. I don't know. My
Yeah, I just thought out because we had some issues with our.
I also
How
thought, oh,
is
it's my
this one?
internet or it's I don't
Not
know.
getting better.
Not really.
We can get the
Or,
general idea, but some of the
well,
smaller text.
this is in the Notion desktop app, so I'm wondering if I open up the actual web
The
page
web page might be
form that
better. That yeah, maybe
yeah.
try the web page
So
or
let
post a
me
link here and maybe somebody else can
yeah,
share it.
let's try this one. 1 second. This one. How's this?
Perfect. I can see it
Much
great.
better.
Cool.
Ooh,
So
that's it. Yeah.
yeah, so just the web page. I'll also post a link in the chat here if anyone wants to jump on it. Um, so yeah, so I was kind of looking at, what do we want from the proposers when they submit a grant? And I think it's really a balance. We don't want so much where, we've heard some people with the IOTA EDF say it takes so long to submit a proposal, it's almost off-putting. And, as we've seen doing research that there's so many Treasury DAOs out there, there are individuals that may say, this is going to take me 3 days to even create this proposal when I'm only seeking $3,000. I might as well go to another Treasury DAO. And as ultimately we want to attract the quality ecosystem people out there that are going to build projects. So I think it's a balance of we want enough information to reduce scams, but we don't want too much information that we're kind of creating a barrier of entry. But so anyway, so we'll just go through, like, someone would put their proposal title, they put their name. This would be their KYC legal name. They're going to put their email and just some wallet address, this wallet address USDT, which will be on the Binance chain until the Shimmer network can have USDD or what other stable coin. Other projects don't necessarily ask for social IDs, but I think in our community it's kind of important, and I think that would limit some of the scams that, again, it's kind of like I feel like IOTA has that sort of proof of reputation system that is evolving. So, but again, I'm not making it so these are all mandatory. I wouldn't make it mandatory, but if people want to, they can certainly say, hey, here I am in the community. I've been around for a couple years. Pretty much every country that there is. So they would put their country of establishment, which I think, something that we may have to discuss with the Swiss organization is there any countries that are off limits globally just on the administrative side? And then a proposal category, which they can click multiple, whether they fall under. And these are just examples, but I think it would be good that we come up with categories that potentially would be a conflict of interest. So if we have a reviewer, again, that we've talked about, they have to be honest with their conflict of interest. Let's say they are co-owner of a DeFi platform, then we'd probably pass them for reviewing other DeFi proposals. So just good to kind of have that there. They put in the amount requested and then their legal status. This says, are you willing to KYC if requested? And also stating that the Shimmer Community Treasury currently requires KYC for all applicants, regardless of what tier they seek funding for. If you're not willing to officially KYC, please seek funding from another DAO. So this is a mandatory. If they don't click this, the proposal is not even go through. And I think this is important. Just simply, there's no point to even spend time and cost reviewing a proposal if the grantor or grantee isn't going to be willing to KYC. Tier grouping, they would click their tier grouping, and then they can put in their, project summary and their project goals and about their team. And this seems to be the milestone and budget breakdown. This seems to be the main most treasuries are asking for. What are your goals? What's your summary? And especially the milestones and the project breakdown. And then they can put any supporting attachments that they want, such as PDFs, PowerPoints, videos, etc. So once they click submit, okay, let's see. That's just an email. And that email would be, tied to their KYC. The web form then directs them to this, and this is basically the Notion tracking sheet that the community can publicly view. So out of that information, it has what they requested, their Discord, Twitter, their title of the proposal, and key here is the date of submission. Now this automatically generates, it's auto-generated. So now it's also going to filter this, first in, last out. We have a identifier, proposal identifier, just for example, SC, Shimmer Community Treasury 0001, first proposal that came in. And this is so basically the reviewers and the program leads can see what first came in and then review that proposal. And these are pending just because, and this is all example, of course, but these are pending because no reviewer has taken this. Again, for the community, they can see, okay, the team accepted this, rejected it, or it's under review. Seasons, so that you can then filter if you wanted to by season, anything. It has the categories, country, KYC, etc.
Yep.
And here is the attachment. So if any community member wants to view, this was just from the IOTA EDF community thing, but if they wanted to review a grant's information that they put up, it's right here for them to simply look at that. And then it has the summaries and the wallet address. So this is the public page that anyone can see. And are you guys seeing this kind of Notion table here?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Perfect.
Let me see if I can pull up the tracker sheet. 1 second. Okay. Do you see this sheet here? Community Treasury Submission Tracker.
Yep, it's perfect.
All right, so this one would be more so. This is tiers 1 to 3, and this would be what the committee can use and the program lead can use to manage this. So you've got the web form that essentially the person seeking the grant is putting all that information in. Now what comes in and let's see this. I'm not sure right here. Okay, so this 1025. So this is the latest one here that we just came in, comes to the top, and that I just did. And basically it's pending and under review because the lead's checking it. The season to be dead. This is all to be done by the reviewer. And then we come down. Go ahead.
I have a question.
Yep.
Is this going to be added automatically once somebody submits a proposal?
So yes, this can
Yes.
be edited by the reviewers and the program lead. So again, these automatically by default come in as, hey, this is pending and under review. So the idea is a reviewer would come in and say, okay, let me find the first one. Okay, this came in today, but this one came in on 10/21/1835. So I'm going to work on this one first. They can either fill out the information here or just an example we'll fill out here. So they see, okay, SET 0006 is the last one. So I'm going to come here and actually, what's going on here? This is
If everybody could theoretically make an entry there, even if it's definitely not a proposal, we would have to take care and moderate stuff and throw stuff out that is not a proposal, because I can feel if this instantly gets added, somebody would like go, hey, invest in my shitcoin and put that there.
Oh, right. Well, and again, I mean, we are going to have there's no doubt that we're going to have spam, right? So the reviewers or the lead program lead's just going to have to come in, and you could just simply delete that, and out it goes. But for the instance now this is the viewing one, but you can't edit. But this is the editable one for just the reviewers and the program leads. But they would come in and then let's say they want to take this one and fill it out. They would then put 006, which would then become the next grant under review. And they come down. The key here is that it automatically assigns a review member. So there's 4 review members. So this review member is member 2 and member 3. And 8888 just means that they haven't filled out any of their questionnaires. So they could then come down and you have the 5 categories that Philo put in. So this is our relevance and grading. And they can come in and put it's outstanding, it's good, it's okay, etc. So if they go, okay, well, it was 4 points for that planning and funding model, we're going to give it 3 points, and their execution was really excellent, so we're going to give it 4 points. The verifiability and quality, well, that was not so good.
Talking quality, the quality of your stream is again trash.
All right, I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess,
but we know what you're doing actually.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
yeah. So the point is that the reviewers can literally just come in and look because they're going to get an email. It's going to send out an email when it says, "Hey, a new proposal come in," and then if they see that they've been assigned to it, they put the identifying number, and basically they then come down and they grade that proposal. Once they grade that proposal, what's going to happen is it's based on a formula, and if you come back and the program lead can look at it, and that reviewer score is 16. And not only is it 16, but it may say the score does not meet the requirement for the tier. Now, reviewer 2 here has a score of 11, and the minimum score requirement for a tier 1, I believe, is 15. So what this formula is doing is basically saying, of the 2 reviewers, look at the minimum total score once you have a minimum total score, does that allow for funding of tier 1? Now, I think what's key here is because we have 2 reviewers, that's at that point that the program lead can look at this and say, okay, the 2 reviewers scored this, and this reviewer believes that it shouldn't be funded. Let's just have a discussion. Why did you think that? Reviewer, that you believe that it should be funded, why do you think that? And maybe that reviewer that scored at 11, then let's see, says, okay, actually, I see your point. I didn't see that. I'm not necessarily an expert in that field. Let me change, once they discuss together. So their score changes from 11 to 19. And now it says you can fund tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. So now they can decide, okay, let's approve or reject this. So yeah, so it's simple. And also, I think what's important is, and historically, all the information is here. And as well as one, the review members is randomized, as well as any review member can come in and look at another review member's how they're scoring projects. So again, we have the category system. And if someone says, oh, I have no conflict of interest whatsoever, but every time that, reviewer 3 is scoring a DeFi, category proposal, and it's, zeros across the board, when everyone's scoring that proposal, let's say, pretty good or even great, the reviewers are probably going to police themselves and just go, hey, John, I'm just curious, why are you scoring all those DeFi platforms? Like, I thought that one was pretty good. And if that individual doesn't have a decent explanation, then it's going to kind of come out that maybe they have some issue with DeFi platforms. Maybe they're connected to another one. So, but I think just the fact that it's there and it's public will give that sort of risk mitigation that someone's going to have to know, okay, I need to score this honestly because people can see this, within the committee and the program lead. So, but the other thing is, once it is, this is with Notion, you can look at the full database. So this is the full database that has every little piece of data coming in. It has all the formulas and all the data. What's pretty cool is you can say, I just want to see just pending reviews, and you can filter out pending reviews, or I just want to see tier 4s or tier 3s, as well as approved. I want to see just approvals. And then you can actually focus on, okay, what's milestone? Okay, this milestone, the funded is in process, or the funding is complete, or the funding isn't complete. So what I saw with Aave, which I thought was really interesting, is they have an online web form where a project that might have 3 milestones, they actually go to the web form and they say, hey, we've completed our milestone. I'm going to write a summary of how I met my deliverable, and then I'm going to provide supporting attachments and web links as to how I completed my deliverable. So I sort of have been working on one of those as well. Web forms where then projects that have been approved, when they finish their milestones, they could submit that. That will send emails out to the review team, and then they come in here and they say, okay, let me read the summary. I agree that it should be funded. And then if the reviewers and the team believe they should be funded for the next milestone, then that gets processed. They get their funding amount, and it allows an ability to track ongoing projects, And then, of course, there would be a project completed tick box. So again, someone could come in here and filter out, let me just see the projects completed. And I think having this sort of tracking sheet for not just the reviewers and the program lead, but that we can then start getting those KPI analytics to figure out, we can put columns in here to say, was this a successful project? How did it affect the ecosystem? And start looking really now, what grants have been given that have been successful to the ecosystem, what individuals are successfully completing grants, and again, building that reputation. Because it's been interesting reading some stuff on other grants where, there are a ton of Treasury DAOs out there, I'm realizing, and a ton of Treasury DAOs that literally give out money and don't track the projects. We've heard from some people that say they've gotten funding for like $8,000 and no one's ever asked them ever again. Did you complete your project? Can you show us the deliverable? Can you give us a web link? Can we share it with the community? Nothing. Just here's the money, off you go. And I think for the Shimmer Treasury, well, even the IOTA Treasury too, it's just not big enough to be dispersing money in that manner. So I think, having a process that can be efficient, kind of take a lot of the data workload off of the reviewers and more on the grant proposals that the people seeking grants are putting in a lot of that information, and then the reviewers and the program leads are just ticking the boxes, and then following the project along in completion. And then, of course, we can certainly complete another public view of completed projects, which I think is important to show the KPI indicators. I do think the spam aspect will be interesting to see, as you brought up, Warner. I think there's no doubt we will get some, and that will be interesting to see how much time that takes for reviewers to sort out. It does seem that, knowing what, okay, boom, a proposal just came in from the web form, it's pending. Let me just do a quick review. Okay, it has some nasty comments. Like, they can just really go down to the summaries here, and they could really see, is this a legitimate proposal or is this a spam proposal?
Yeah, I mean, there are going to be different kinds of spam. There's going to be the obvious, hey, I'm gonna submit a troll proposal or so, which I think a reviewer can look at it and in 10 seconds in delete.
Right. And
there's going to be some more sophisticated ones where it's maybe not obvious, but probably just people trying to get a cheap dollar with essentially nothing behind, just hoping that somebody will click it through.
Right.
These are going to be a little bit more because you have to follow the links. Maybe also there will be people that send links and try to scam the reviewers by using some phishing sites also.
Right.
Yeah, all that stuff will happen. I was just thinking.
Yeah, IP grabbers and all that stuff.
Maybe we could get somebody to just write a little bit of code where they have to make a deposit, like a gift deposit. I'm not joking. No matter how trivial, right? It's the same concept of
something done other
a storage deposit, right? If they have to submit a storage deposit, bots and things like that might slow things down. I don't know.
Yeah, some people would write like a web form spammer and just submit 20,000,
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
I don't know how the submittal form looks. We definitely need a captcha there.
So that web form,
but I think doing a storage deposit or so, this might make it might raise the entry bar quite a bit. I also don't think that any other DAO is doing that you have to like.
Yeah, but and I'm also saying it could be trivial, right? Like almost nothing, but just something where it makes the submission not something that a bot can do or somebody, basically it's just the same thing. Trading is free until if you submit a deposit. Well, these could be refundable deposits. That's just an idea,
I think two things. One, that form it does have a CAPTCHA choice. I did test that and put it on and took it off. So we can certainly put that on. I wonder, would it be worth, going live with it for, let's say, 30 days and see, is that actually going to be an issue? Because I put the CAPTCHA on and then I looked at Aves, and Aves doesn't do it, and a few others that I looked at, web kind of forms, they don't have that. And I wondered if they took that off just because they seemed it as more of an inconvenience, but at the same time, they're not being inundated with spam. So, I
say it's worth putting in, and then you can always turn it off, right?
Mm-hmm.
But really, if somebody's applying for $3,000, $5,000 and then they can't deal with a CAPTCHA,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a captcha. I don't know Google reCAPTCHA and the alternatives, but I think you can put them on really strict. So even if they, I mean, these captchas right now, they check like how you move your mouse and all that stuff. So they try to see how high is the chance that you are a bot, and if the chance is low, then you probably had it. You click on captcha and it doesn't pop up and instantly checks. But you
Right.
can like put that to really hard that everybody has to do a captcha, and
Yeah,
probably
that's,
also several ones.
yeah, I don't see any problem
yeah,
with
that shouldn't
making
be
it
shouldn't be an
strict.
issue. Yeah.
So now this captcha will be in here. So you just click it.
H captcha, yeah.
Please click each
That's
and
nice. I
okay,
mean,
done.
that's 30 seconds, and it will avoid a lot of spam and a lot of
Yeah, I
unnecessary
think
work.
this
Yeah.
is probably already enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, we'll
if we are
find out.
really getting sophisticated spam attacks, then we would have to really
Go to
fall back.
plan
But I
B.
don't
Yeah.
think that maybe we could ask the bankless guys on
Nobody really.
first day.
Again, I know I have never heard of anyone of any DAO having any issues with stuff like this.
Yeah,
We
I
might.
don't think it's going to be.
Yeah.
I like the idea if it becomes a problem of putting that deposit, because it's like
Yeah.
we're not necessarily. I know some DAOs you actually have to pay, and if it gets accepted, you get it back, and if it
Yeah.
doesn't, you lose
But I
your
mean,
funds.
we would have cool experience. You could put something in with 1 week time lock or something like this.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
easy. It doesn't cost anything and stuff like that. I would think about that if we really see that we have continuous issues. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Start off with a CAPTCHA,
Yeah.
and then if we need to worry about it later,
I
we can.
think a captcha is nothing out of the ordinary.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
standard on submitting some stuff that's causing some heavier tasks on either humans or servers.
GD, is
Yeah.
there the form for the internal use? Is there any value in talking about maybe making a derivative of that public facing for transparency? Just so you list a project by the ID and then the status for communication purposes, or I don't know, just a thought.
And I've thought about that, and I think as a community we should, discuss like what should be public and what shouldn't be public. Like, so, do their legal KYC name need to be public, their email, and then on the review side, do the reviewers, like, maybe their overall score can be public, or do their individual scores need to be public, or does any reviewer grading need to be public? So that I'm not sure, honestly.
As far as reviewers go, I think we have to keep everything like they can't. We don't want them to be doxxed. We don't want them to be.
Mhm.
I think it's a black box once, as far as I'm concerned, because when something gets turned down, it needs to look like it's just turned down. You can't identify anybody. Otherwise, people can be, harassed. So
Mhm.
Yeah, we don't need to review the review, but just like an ID, a status, a category they apply to. I was thinking this would generate, hey, look at all the, the business IOTA is doing. But then again,
look at all these
maybe
cool
not. Maybe
projects that are submitted. Yeah. The only
but
thing that would
maybe
be,
not. There's arguments against it too. I don't know.
I mean,
yeah, well,
so
the argument against it might be that, hey, I've got kind of a project that I think is kind of cool. I don't want to even give any heads up to what it is to anybody, right?
The other,
so
I mean, the
so
other
the,
thing would
so
be
we
also that basically if a project applies, it makes them open to criticism. Yeah, so or whatever the competitors see. Oh, look, they applied for $50,000 for kind of no scope of work. So it can create kind of this FUD coming up if people see a
Yes.
project X, project Epsilon, they ask for so much money for such a small thing. They ask, so this can steer some discussions. So might be something
yeah.
that might be useful maybe to list them, but don't list the project names or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I was meaning.
Until
Yeah,
it's
that's
until it's
exactly what I was
accepted.
meaning.
Just an ID.
Yeah.
Just
So
an ID,
this
and it's good for communication with the applicant too, because they don't have to endlessly ask us, "What's the status? What's the status?" Just there's a web page, and they can see pending or rejected or accepted or whatever.
So this page here is the public page, and basically it takes that main data sheet and is just saying, hey, only show this information. So it has the identifier, the title of the proposal, and then their Discord ID. And then it says, this is how much they requested, this is how much they're funded, and accepted or rejected. So
I would not even put that there. I would just put an ID and then the tier of how much they requested and then the status. And that's it. Not even like identify the name of the applicant.
That's a good
well,
point.
so
I agree.
if we look at Aave will, they say they have a checkout our grantees. So then it has all the people that have received any funding. It has
But that's after they've been awarded.
Yeah.
no, but there's also a page of every single grant submission, whether it's been accepted or rejected. This is just one.
I mean,
I can't remember where it is actually, but
I like the
most-
idea of anonymity. We can always change it later, but I'd err on the side of anonymity.
Or have two lists. One list where you're just an ID, so you can
Yeah.
track how you're doing because only you know your ID. And then if you're accepted, then there's kind of like another list, and that's like all the approved projects.
Yeah, that's what I like that idea. Yeah.
I mean, I like the transparency aspect, and I think like I would go on the IOTA EDF webpage and actually download the PDFs of some of the submissions and just see who's seeking grants, who's getting funded, and there was some really interesting stuff. I mean, it was really cool to see that. So I think I like the aspect that I can say, oh, okay, this project got accepted and they were for, whatever, a hackathon. And let me see how they submitted, their application. So then boom, I can pull up their application and I could go, okay, so this is an application that actually got funded and wow, that looks really professional. And maybe someone has a great idea, but they're not so good at developing the professional sort of submission. And now they have sort of a standard that they can go off of. Or I could look at, oh, this hackathon got rejected. Well, let me see, why did the committee reject that? Maybe there's some nefarious activity going on. Okay, let me see what that project submitted. And I'll go, well, this is one page and it's crap. It has no information whatsoever. I understand now why the reviewers rejected this one. So
I think I'm here also with JD. Maybe the only thing that we might not any personal information, like the personal Discord of the team members or something. This is maybe something that we that's not needed to be public for rejected proposals. But all the information about the proposal, like you said, the application and all the things that they basically did send in to get reviewed in, might be something that definitely needs to be visible. And like you said, it can be really helpful, and project that shouldn't need to be worried about then. But if there is something like a personal information, this might be something that is not absolutely needed for everybody to see until it's accepted. I mean, all the accepted ones.
Yeah.
Then,
So that Philo, that's what I was wondering. Are you saying
Yeah.
that this is before or after
I would.
a decision has been
I would
rendered.
say if anything, and everything that is accepted, everything needs to be public. Yeah.
I agree with that completely.
Yeah.
I was
I
just
think
thinking that prior to that, like some of this is IP, right? I mean, this is, you know, projects don't they think they have something unique, and they don't want competitors to know. So I don't think they should be have to let the public see it until a decision's rendered. And even
okay.
at that point, I think it might be, I don't know what you guys think, but like if you think you have a good idea, even though you get rejected, if you want to suppress that information and keep it, should that be an option for the project?
Yeah, like a little check mark. Make
Yeah.
my info public during application. Make it not public.
Or
I don't know.
post application or whatever, right? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I mean we could do either way. So whatever the group wants to do, we can have one public view that's accepted projects and one public view that's rejected projects, and then decide what is shown in each of those. So the accepted ones we would show everything, and then we can certainly add a checkbox as to the form of if your project is rejected, do you want this to be visible to the public? Kind of, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Or and rejected projects we can just hide the Discord ID, Twitter ID, links they want to submit, but we would just show the proposal title, and would we show their any attachments they submit and their
Yeah, I don't
granting?
know on that one.
You,
I leave
you,
up
you-
and
I
let other
mean,
people chime
usually,
in.
I think yes. I mean, in the end, there's also maybe the need for the committee basically to show what they've been working on. Yeah, so basically,
Right.
if you hide everything that you've rejected, in the end, people will say, "Hey, what are you doing? You're only accepting proposals." So there's also a need for information on which basis the committee rejected proposals. Yeah, and I think in the end, I know, but if you go for a public funding, you need to be okay as a project to do this in the open. Yeah, if you wanna stay hidden, you send an email to the next VC. Yeah, but if you ask a community for financial support, you should be okay with showing what you have and be public afterwards if you failed or if you got accepted. Kind of, this is a little bit of the deal. Transparency is very likely more important here than yeah, then yeah.
Maybe just have a disclosure at the front of the application
Mm.
process that says your information, this is just basically what you just said. All of this is going to be public, accepted or rejected. Are
And
you comfortable with that? I don't
and
know.
I definitely agree with that. I'll actually add that to the web
Yeah,
form.
that's a good point.
And I think, I think when we see on discourse, there's a lot of people, especially in the IOTA community, I think that are more for full 100% decentralization. So the idea of a committee is, they maybe aren't jumping for joy for that, but at the same time they go, okay, we're happy with a committee if the process isn't transparent. If there's transparency to everything, then okay. So I think, the more transparency, the better. But exactly what you're saying, the submitter should understand, hey, you're submitting for this proposal, but this is a transparent Treasury DAO. If you want something a little bit more private, I don't know, maybe the IOTA Treasury, the IOTA Foundation is, they seem to be a little bit more private in their interactions, or maybe they can go to touch point or something like that. That's a little bit more private, but the community Treasury DAO, we're just trying to be offering a transparent open source project, but support the ecosystem the best we can with our funds that we have.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Just literally say, look, transparency is really important what we're doing, so all this will be public, and then check mark. I don't know.
There might be also something. I'm really bad in this, but I know Antonio is. I have to talk to him. There might be some GDPR things about this public data stuff. there. So we would have
Mhm.
to. I can ask our legal team if they can. Basically, I'll explain them. Maybe I think Antonio already knows how far this could go or what would be allowed to be published, but definitely the people would need to anyway to agree on all that. Yeah. So I mean, it's everything that's related with Europe. You anyway will have to have such a disclaimer that you are okay with, and this is all GDPR
Yeah, the way you
compliant.
overcome the
And then,
GDPR stuff, I think, is you just simply say you agree to the terms that this will be public information because of the
yeah.
type of it's a
But
grant.
people will need to be, like you said, people will need to be aware of that this information is made public,
Yeah,
and they have to give their
and they need to
their
accept like
consent in it. Yeah.
yeah, they will need to accept those like for sure.
And I mean, we always have the option to delete it if that has to be GDPR regulated, which is totally fine. And I think, and I think it's trying to fit that proof of reputation. I mean, if we see one Discord ID, just put it in, proposals that get rejected over and over and over and over, then we could reach out to that individual and say, hey, you actually have good ideas, but the structure of your proposal could be a little better. Do you want to take some time with us? We'll help you out. And if they toss it to the side, then and we see that name, may just click, rejected at that point,
I mean, I'm
and
sure.
as well as the community sees that.
Yeah, I'm sure in the end you could even. I don't think we need it, but if there would be you can even implement also a block list or something like this. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
always a
Yeah.
possibility. Yeah.
hmm So
Yeah, also I think like if we are going to reject a proposal, I think in this case you would reach out and say, hey, we would reject that because of X, Y, because maybe something is missing or not good. Then I think you would reach out first and say, hey, this is insufficient. You would have to provide additional information. For
Yeah.
example, about what do you want to talk about on the hackathon
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
what
yeah. That's
why do you think we should fund you to go there, for example? If it's just
right.
hey, I want to go to hackathon, please fund.
yeah. Then there should
Just
be,
want to
like you
go
said,
have
there
fun.
should be a message coming. Okay, there is no clear information for point X. Please provide more in the next 7 days, or it will be rejected. Yeah. Yeah, this is something that the grant reviewers should then do, to make them aware that their stuff is missing, give them the chance to add this to the proposal. If there's nothing coming after a reasonable time, then just discard the whole thing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Cool. Amazing. I
So
mean, who's going to write the first grant application for JD to fund this whole thing? 'Cause this is an
yeah,
amazing amount of work
now
that you put in. Yeah.
we need to get a little action coming in from the grants just to see how the formulas play out and if everything is working
Yeah.
properly. I've tried it a few, but it always works from having other people to submit it.
Yeah, basically we can.
But
So this is basically we could put up some fake proposals to test it out and fill up the form a little bit with all kind of stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, we
yeah.
could do this. Yeah,
It's beautiful. Great work,
yeah,
man.
Thank you,
yeah.
thank you. And Ave, and I'm gonna try to work on. I mean, just something similar.
Mm.
I'm not always into recreating things if someone has something that works, but to get going at least. But they have these apply for a grant, so it goes right to their form, which, yeah, there it goes.
Yep.
And then this is their claim subsequent payments, which I thought was interesting. So we can do something very similar to that. And yeah, it definitely, I think, makes pretty smooth
And
process.
it's a
And
very good. It really, like you said, it makes for a really efficient process. And I was always wondering how those treasuries can work on so many proposals per month. I mean, a lot of them they they get 200 or 300 proposals a month for funds, sometimes
Mm.
more. And I was always wondering, okay, and you need something like this. Like you said, you have everything there. There would not be any double work of, okay, I've did it now. Now I have to put it into the Notion page, which will take another half an hour of your life. So this is super great, so that it's all there, and the reviewers work directly in this sheet, and there's no
Right.
more extra work in the end. You make your reviews, you give your points, you give your statement, you have everything in one place. It's just like super smooth, and then you can really potentially, if there's some nice good proposals coming in, you can do 2, 3, 4 a day or something like this if you take a couple of hours time, and there's not really super complicated stuff, and everything is clearly formatted, and it depends a lot on, like you said, how you do the form, which questions you ask in the beginning, so that you, as a reviewer, you just open and you have everything in place that you need. There should be
Right.
even a way to think about, okay, could we mitigate the risk that stuff is missing? Don't know if you can. Sometimes in some fields where they have to put up some text, maybe you require a minimum amount of text that they just don't write a single stupid word, where they should normally put in their
Right.
whole project description or something like this. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, and and then the other aspect is kind of that, co-lead risk mitigation. If God forbid something happened to the program lead and they, went off the grid completely,
Yeah.
and then it's like, well, where's all the information? If the information is spread out amongst different sheets and different, one on Google Docs here and one on this sheet and one on that sheet, then it
Yeah.
makes it much more difficult to deal with that issue if someone steps in or the new program lead comes in, have to pull everything together. So having everything in one place and a known written down process, then a new program lead can come in and go, okay, I see where we're at, I see where we were, and I know where we need to go, and then really kind of take it and run with it, which is good. Yeah, cool. All
One
right.
little idea I just had. You said there, basically you have grant reviewer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or something like this, and they're getting emails. There be any idea that we say, okay, because we still don't want to have anybody the ability to, let's say, recognize some patterns or something like this. So you could basically also, let's say, monthly switch the emails of so last month, the grant reviewer was grant reviewer 1, and next month he's grant reviewer 3. Yeah, so that you basically have even there a randomization, so that it's not becoming clear in the end for people from outside to
So
figure out who was a grant reviewer. Yeah.
this form doesn't, and I was looking for that, but like, so let's say, okay,
That would be a manual work, I
grant,
think. Yeah, that you change
grant,
the
grant
emails.
view, grant reviewer number 2 got randomly put on this, and reviewer number 3 got put on this, and I was wondering, can it be set up so that you set that email for that reviewer, so it says, hey, you've got basically a grant to review. It doesn't do that. What we could do is, let's say the program lead can put everyone's email, so it just says, hey, a grant came in. And I haven't actually seen the email yet. It would be interesting if you can say, show this information. I don't think Notion is that versatile, but basically they'll just be able to see, okay, a proposal came in, and then they can look, actually, this should be sorted here. And then they could come in and they could say, okay, this is the top of the list to be pending. And if they open this, they can basically just say, okay, here I am. I need to review this. Let me go in and answer my questionnaire. Now that is a question. I mean, should one reviewer know the other reviewer, or do we want to keep that anonymous and only the program lead knows, or the program lead and the co-lead?
No, I think that because they will have to work together. They will. You're not living in a black box. They will
Yeah.
communicate with each other. I think there shouldn't
I mean,
be inside the committee. Everything should be pretty open. Yeah. So this also is better for working and to identify. Okay, look, there's like the guy is always doing strange. So basically, you will need to know to whom you are talking, or to whom you
Yeah,
can
and this
contact. Yeah.
and this sheet is only going to be viewed by the committee and the program lead. This is not open to the public. So like, this is just the code, but member one would be, whatever he wants to be or she wants to be called or they want to be called, John or Jane or whatever. So then it would say John or Jane,
Yeah.
you need to review this. So and then of course that can be certainly updated if the reviewers get changed out or whatever.
I'm
But
looking
yeah.
over. Notion has an audit log, which is pretty neat. So you can see who looked at a page, who
Yes.
uploaded something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, here's an idea. I don't know if Notion is, like you said, it's not that capable, but even show that publicly, the activity going on. Somebody looked at this, somebody approved that, somebody rejected. That's probably be a little too.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the public view one is really just, they can see the proposal stuff that's public, but that's about it. What's great about that history stuff, and I've worked with that with other project management softwares, is let's say someone gets a little crazy and just says screw you guys and deletes a whole bunch of stuff because it's captured in the revision history.
Yeah.
You can just go in and undelete it, which is always good, or go back one or two reversions, and that's pretty key.
Another interesting
yeah.
thing on this is also, let's say, I mean, a grant reviewer does one proposal per week, but every week just does one proposal but submits 10 hours of work. I mean, there's then a nice way for the program lead to have a little bit of a log of basically when and what and how did this reviewer actually come up with 10 hours of work for a proposal that all the others do in 1 hour. Yeah. So it's a
Yeah.
Yeah,
nice.
the audit
Yeah.
log.
That's a
Yeah, the
nice
audit log
thing.
will
It's
easily show if.
important. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an important feature. So basically, then also you will. I don't. It's not in the beginning, but you will get a feeling after time how much time you usually need for similar kind of grants. And if there's one reviewer completely off the grid, then the program lead will have to look into those things and do some
And I
stuff there.
and I know one of the individuals on discourse were discussing basically overhead and, is two reviewers suitable overhead for a tier one proposal that's only goes up to 5,000, etc. And but I was thinking to put basically extra columns here that once the reviewer reviews it and answers his questions, they put in how many minutes, and maybe it goes by 10-minute intervals so they can round up or round down, which is then essentially going to be their pay at the end of the month. But just like you stated, that's a great point of if 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 one reviewer for tier one proposal is taking 4 hours, well, the three other reviewers are taking maybe 60 to 90 minutes, an hour to an hour and a half. Potentially that reviewer may be trying to up their hours to get extra pay or whatever, or make sure they max out on their 5 hours per week. And like you said, that's then the discussion to the program lead to discuss that with that individual and just say, hey, let's look at how you're reviewing this because it's just a tier one proposal. We don't want to necessarily spend more money.
And that's
And
great
the
because
reverse
then,
problem.
yeah.
What if somebody's rejecting something in 30 seconds?
Yeah, same thing.
Absolutely.
Same thing.
Absolutely.
That's a great thing to have really checks and balances in place, and the review the grant lead will have to have an eye on all those things. To find a good balance, to find a good rhythm inside the team, and to also identify, because in the end, the community will ask the same questions. Yeah, if they maybe they're not really figured, but there will be maybe somebody that's kind of tracking which reviewer reviews or approves how many proposals per month or something like this, and questions might come, and it should be easy to conquer or to verify such things. And there, an audit log Notion is a great tool for this. Yeah.
Cool. So add time tracking to the form, audit logs, statement of transparency on the form. We got the CAPTCHA, and then so on the public view. So we want to create an accepted public page that would have their Discord and Twitter ID, and a rejected public page, and the Discord and ID wouldn't be there, but basically just the basics with the proposal itself. Really, is that kind of what we're coming to?
As long as they agreed to it, but maybe anonymize the rejections. But if they agree up front, this is all public, then
Right. I add the statement of transparency on the web form so they know that everything's public. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe just having that alone, then they know. And I'll even add that, hey, you can put your Discord ID if you want to. This will be public, but you don't have to. It's not mandatory. Whereas, of course, the project summary and the proposal summary, that's something like that would be mandatory that they have to submit.
Yeah, I personally would really want the Discord IDs from all members. There, it's kind of as a reviewer, I want to know basically who is applying there. Yeah, and I want to look up their Discord chat history in our and in other Discords to see basically if there is something behind what they're telling, or if if they don't have any chat ID, don't have a Telegram, they don't have a Discord thing, but they are telling me that they're since 3 years in several Web3 projects and have done shit here and there. I should be able to find proof of this in a Discord of all those projects. If I don't find that, then I would be very suspicious to giving them money. Yeah? So I think Discord ID, also Telegram ID, is pretty something needed, yeah, for making good reviews. Because you have to figure out if you can trust the team. Yeah, they can tell you whatever they want. They make a great presentation, looks super amazing, but you have to figure also out the persons behind that.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Well, we'll make some edits to it. But yeah, I think it's
Cool. It's amazing. Looks really. That's absolutely cool, JD. Wow, we got an hour. Actually, one only thing from my side that I wanted to bring up shortly is the stuff with the legal entity for this whole thing. So I will have tomorrow a long call with Anya about this whole thing. I also have been in contact with Bian because there have been some legal questions. How is this GmbH going to be structured? What will be the influence of the Tangle Ecosystem Association? What possible influence does the community have over governance votes and all this stuff? So the Swiss law really makes a lot of good and decentralized decision making by communities possible in such Swiss entities. So that's a good thing. I will clarify this with Anya. If anyone has some specific questions around the legal entity, please post them in the chat here in the governance discussion or something. I will add them then to the talking points with Anya tomorrow. And we will then also engage with a Swiss law firm to get a real complete legal statement on this whole thing, how it would be set up, what would be the requirements, what would be the rights and the specific terms for the community, for the members and the contractual things, what would be all the stuff like you said, if there would be any countries that wouldn't be able to receive funding under Swiss law and all these things. I will try to put this all together and get this clarified by the Swiss lawyers that are there are a couple of Swiss law firms that are very experienced in all this DAO law things, and we will engage with one of them and figure all this stuff out. Yeah, so if there's some questions from your side, just post them in the chat or send me a DM or whatever, and I'll put them up on the list. Yes.
what's what's the proposed like so the program lead, like I guess was it proposed at all that basically this will be developed with the IF? Like the IF is maybe somehow uh, a signary or something, just at least in the first year as we test it out and transition or anything like that, or is it solely independent?
Yeah, I mean the thing is what Björn recommended was because we have the Swiss Association, the Tangle Ecosystem Association, that the association would basically be kind of the founder of this LLC thing, um, and this would then give the people of the GmbH an additional umbrella of legal protection, and it also would help a lot, I think, in tax implementations, because then it would be kind of possible to run this under the tax law for the association, but still act as a for-profit entity. So these are the things, but I want to have this really clarified because I got a lot of information and I'm not a lawyer. So that's why I engage with Anya to really have this, and I'll make a write-up on this complete setup then. But there seems to
Okay.
be some really advantages of doing this, and this is basically what I want to know. What are really the advantages of having this, also compared to just have a single entity that is not in any connection with the Tangle Ecosystem Association. But usually, this is what Björn said me. You have this two different entities working together, a non-profit association and a for-profit LLC. This kind of is the best solution, and gives you the best options from both worlds, from the legal side. But I really want to have this written down somewhere that I can share with you, that basically everybody knows what's about to happen. Yeah,
Nice.
cool.
Excellent.
Yeah. And one more update. I had yesterday a really long call with the Firefly, Hornet, and the libraries teams, because there are quite some. I mean, we have quite some changes in the protocol. I mean, we have all the new features now. We have the storage deposit, we have the NFTs, we have the unlock conditions, and all this stuff. So there's a lot of things happening in Firefly that are different from the previous version of voting. And there have been several ideas floating around and proposals how we could basically make it easier or make it more user friendly or easier to develop also. That would save some time, but we have come up now with a nice solution that basically makes everything working as before. The only thing that we would change in the flow for a user is now that you are, before you um, are before you want to use some funds that you are currently used for voting, um, you would not, like before, you just basically could send funds and then they would automatically stop to vote or stop to stake. Um, Now you would have to have another operation. Basically, you would first have to stop to vote and then send the funds. That's basically the only thing in the flow that changes, that you will have to make an active action of saying, okay, stop, I don't want to use these funds for voting anymore. Then they are freed. So basically they're kind of locked, but you're just having access to them all the time, but they are from program flow locked in the wallet. You have to unlock them to use them for anything else, which just requires one click of a button by a user more. The rest of the thing we will be able to keep completely as it was in the previous votes in the old Firefly version. Yeah. Yeah, that's basically the only thing. Yeah, and then there are some edge cases like stuff when you, let's say you receive an NFT and you need some storage deposit, but you're currently voting with this. This all will be made possible with kind of easy flows that you will be asked, okay, do you want to use some funds that you are currently voting for the storage deposit, because otherwise you can't receive an NFT and all these things. There's quite some UX work to do on that, but the team is pretty confident that they're moving quite good forward and making good progress on that. Yeah. And the good thing is that we really could, the rest of the flow is going to stay completely as we have been used to it. Yo, this have been the additions from my side. So are there any... I see, it's ZMB, you are here. Like I said, I will have a call tomorrow with our lawyer. Are there any questions from your side regarding the Swiss GmbH that you would like to have to clarified? Because then I will put them up on the agenda tomorrow. I've collected already some from what you have posted in the forum, but if you have any additional things, you can send me a DM or can post them in the chat, and I'll add them to the questions, and we will engage then with a Swiss law firm to get a proper legal opinion and legal statement on all those things. Oh, alrighty. Yeah, cool. That's basically it, I think. If there is nobody else has anything to add, I think we'll wrap it up for today. We will have our next session on Thursday. Thursday it's going to be 4 p.m. because at 5 p.m. we're going to have the bankless session, the last one. So on Thursday we're gonna have an hour where I give you an update on what I've heard from the legal side, and maybe we can also talk about some things about the member selection. We had also some chats about this over the weekend, and get also a little bit moving forward there in how to choose our grant reviewers and everything. Okay?
Great.
Great. JD, thanks a lot for the work you've been putting in. This is kind of super amazing. Like I said, I pledge for this to be the first grant given by the community for the one that designed all these cool Notion forms. Yeah. So.
Sure.
Anyway, thanks a lot, everyone, for attending, for your interest in governance, and let's work together in making this thing a really nice, excellent working organization, community-driven stuff, and see you again on Thursday. Thank you very much. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Thank